And joining us right now, Republican Senator from Georgia, Johnny Isakson. Good to have you on the program. Thanks so much for joining us. John Boehner basically just saying he wants to see spending cut proposals on the table. Where specifically would you like to see those cuts come from?
Well, first of all, entitlements are $2 out of every $3 we spend, $2.7 trillion a year. They need to be reformed, and over time you can save a lot of money without taking away what people have paid for in terms of Social Security and Medicare. And then we have to cut discretionary spending, although I will tell you, discretionary spending is $1,182 billion. Our deficit was $1.2 trillion, so we're $18 billion short of having nothing if we cancel the entire government. You can't do it without entitlement reform.
Senator, when you talk about entitlement reform, you're talking trillions of dollars in deficits in Medicare and Social Security over the next 10, 20 years. Where specifically do you cut? Do you tell people, no, I'm sorry, you're cut off?
You tell them what Ronald Reagan told me in 1983 when I was 39 years old. Social Security was going broke in 2011. He and Tip O'Neill got together and pushed my eligibility out from age 65 to age 66. That actuarially put the fund back in shape. We've got to do it again.
How much does 1 or 2 years added to that retirement age really mean?
A lot, and it compounds over time and over the period of time that you do it. So my grandchildren, it ought to probably be age 70, not age 67.
Wow.
But we need to fix the formula. Second thing, I'm not beyond means testing COLAs. I think if people are at the high end, maybe their COLA shouldn't be as large as the COLA for the guy at the bottom end. But you can't negotiate anything if the president is sitting in an ivory tower or campaigning in Detroit, and we're sitting here trying to do the people's business.
So where do you think the real compromise is coming out? Do you believe that, in fact, John Boehner and President Obama this weekend had a serious discussion? Where are we really in this compromise?
Well, I've learned a long time ago up here that what you don't know sometimes can kill you, but if you don't know anything, it means something's probably going on. I hope they had substantial negotiations. I hope the president will come to the...
But you have no idea if it's true.
No.
Yeah.
No, but too many people negotiating is a bad thing, too, also.
Right. You can't have 500 people in a room negotiating, right? Okay, so you have been pretty vocal over the debt ceiling debate, and very soon after this fiscal cliff issue moves forward, we're going to be moving forward on the debt ceiling debate. And you have said that you do not agree with President Obama, that he basically wants to take this debt ceiling debate off the table and have no barriers. Why?
It's like taking the limits off a teenage daughter's credit card. If you don't have limits, you're going to spend forever. If the president doesn't have limits, if he doesn't have to come to us, if we don't have to work out an agreement on the debt ceiling, then spending goes on forever. The debt and the deficit go up, and pretty soon you have to inflate the dollar and cheapen the value of every asset the American people own.
So you play with people's lives every couple of years on this debt ceiling, and you say, look, I want this, otherwise we're not going to approve it?
No, you don't play with their lives, you play with the pocketbooks of the American people. It's time we stop spending so much. The debt ceiling cap is just like the credit card cap. It works.
You were a realtor for 33 years. There's been some suggestion that maybe we need to reduce the mortgage interest deduction. $1 million right now is where you can deduct down from. Should that come down?
You should never pick one deduction out and say that's where we're going to do it. What I favor is capping deductions on a means test. For example, if you're in the top 2%, maybe your maximum deduction is $35,000. You don't cap it by cutting out charitable deduction or cutting out mortgage deduction. You cut out the aggregate and you cap it at the aggregate. That way you're not picking on one benefit, but you're limiting the amount of deduction somebody can take.
Senator, I understand that you have to go where the money is, right? And the money is at the top 2%, and it's grown dramatically in the last 10 years. I get that. Every year, 1 million teenagers drop out of high school. In the last 2 years, we've created 1.8 million jobs, and 800,000 people have gone on permanent disability. Okay, a lot of those are valid. Some suggest many are not. When do we also start to ask more from everybody?
Well, we have to have accountability in our benefit system. You've just hit on the nail on why entitlements are so important. SSI disability is an entitlement. Medicare is an entitlement. Medicaid is an entitlement. Social Security is an entitlement. Retirement of federal employees is an entitlement. We need to put it all on the table and hold it accountable.
If you get those cuts that you are looking for from those three biggies, and I know they're not going to touch Social Security, so let's just put that aside for a moment because it doesn't seem very realistic because you're just not hearing that conversation. So
even though it's the easiest one to touch.
Okay. Medicare and Medicaid, let's say realistically you get those cuts. Are you willing to give in terms of raising taxes on the rich?
As long as raising revenues, whether it's through deductions like you talked about or whether it's through rates, as long as it's tied to debt and deficit reduction, then you have the framework under which America's Senate can make a deal.
Politically, you can't sell deductions. It's a lot easier to tell the people we're going to raise taxes on the rich. It's harder to say to people, through these tax loopholes that we're closing, we may or may not raise more money. That doesn't sell politically.
But can you get the same amount of revenue if, in fact, you do what Brian's saying? think, cut out these loopholes?
John Boehner put $800 billion on the table in his first offer to the president. The president has put nothing on the table in terms of debt
When are you
spending.
expecting something on the table from the president?
Well, the clock's ticking. The 31st of December is coming. New Year's Day is coming. We got a long way to go. I'm afraid the president of the United States, the elected leader of the greatest democracy in the world, wants us to go off the cliff for political benefit, which would be terrible for the American people, terrible for our country.
Are you going to go on vacation for the holidays without a deal done?
No, ma'am.
Senator, thank you.
Thanks very much, Senator.
Great to be with you.
Good to have you on the
Maria.
program.
Thank you.